I was wondering what I could do to mark the 1 year anniversary of the passing of Roxanne Grant. Um, all of her friends and all the family were deeply saddened with Roxanne's passing last year. It's been a tough year, and it's hard to put into words how I feel. Your partner, the person that you've spent more of your time with than anyone else, is gone. The person that you were going to, grow old with and spend time with, is no longer there. There's a hole, a deep hole that is hard to be filled, and never will be. But I thought that I would try and, show what Roxanne meant to me and meant to my kids and her friends and the family. She was a great person. And anyone that knew her would say that she was the life of the party. She was always upbeat, and she was always in a good mood. She was funny. She was like a great individual. She didn't have any enemies. Everyone loved her. So I just thought I'd put a little video together and show some pictures that the funeral home put together, and they gave us this book, and it really, the pictures really capture how fun she was to be around, and she was always having a good time, and she always had like a smile on her face. In a little history, so we were getting ready to move into this current home, and we were staying with my parents, and Roxanne mentioned to me that she wasn't feeling all that great, but she thought that it had something to do with maybe mold in the basement at my parents' house. Just maybe the stress of of selling the house and building the new house, and just like the stress that's associated with turning your life upside down and selling the house that you've been in for over 10 years. We didn't think anything of it. So we moved into the new house, and we were there for 2 weeks, and then we took a trip to Newfoundland to see Roxanne's family. And she had been going hiking with her sister Marie, and she'd wasn't complaining too much. She said that she was a little tired, and we just thought that it was the with all the hiking she was doing, she was always busy doing something. And then on the way, when we were getting ready to come home, she was complaining about her stomach. And I said to her, okay, well, when we get home, you can, go to the hospital. Because right at that time, it was September, the end of September of 2021, and you couldn't get in to see a doctor, really. So you'd go to the hospital when you needed to see a doctor, because that was the only way to reliably get in to see one. So that was the plan. Well, it wasn't. It was my plan when she got home to go to see a doctor. But we got back, and she was complaining about her stomach, and you know, she had a stomach bug, is what she thought. And I told her, well, go to the hospital. And she's like, well, what are they gonna do? They can't do anything for stomach flu. But when it was lasting for more than a week, and it was now into the second week, I'm like, okay, well, you got to go into the hospital. And that was the start of her finding out that she had stage 4 colon cancer. And there was nothing that they could do except give her chemotherapy. There was no other treatment. Basically, it was palliative care, and they were just going to give her chemo, and they said that there was no cure, there was just treatment, and the treatment was chemo. So that's what we did. But after 18 months of battling, she passed March the 15th, 2023, at the age of 52. It was tough. It was hard for family and friends to deal with that. Because she was so vibrant, she was so fun, she was, so full of life, and for her to be taken that early was really tough. So I'm gonna look through some of the videos that I have, and I'm gonna see if I can find some of Roxanne and see what I've got, and I'll try and put some videos in this if I can find some videos that make sense. But we'll see what I can do, see what I have. I'm sure I have some. It's just a matter of finding them. And so I just wanted to put together this little video trying to explain, how losing your spouse can sort of leave the family rudderless. I had 18 months looking, caring for Roxanne, and I supported her the best I could, and it's hard. It's hard to figure out what you're supposed to do, how you're supposed to behave, how you're supposed to support your spouse. Now, some backstory. In 2017, in September of 2017, I was diagnosed with stage 2/3 throat cancer. I had a mass in my throat, but it had traveled to my lymph nodes, but it hadn't traveled to any organs, so it could be dealt with with radiation and with chemo. So I had 2 months of radiation, 35 radiation treatments, and I had 3 chemo treatments. And my wife, Roxanne, was the backbone for my support. So she came down to see me because I stayed through the week at Princess Margaret Lodge, and she would come down 3 times a week, and she would spend time with me. And then on Friday, she would come and pick me up, take me home, because I would come home for the weekends where I would kind of recuperate, and then on Sunday or Monday, I would go back to the lodge. So she was my support, and she was very, very strong. And she helped me immensely. And I don't think I would have got through it the way I did if it wasn't for Roxanne and the support that she gave me. So I kind of know or knew at that time when Roxanne was diagnosed with cancer how I was to support her, I guess. But I didn't know if I was strong enough to do that the way she supported me through my cancer diagnosis and screening and treatment. So when she was diagnosed, I did my best to treat her the way I think that she wanted to be treated, to help her, to hold her. You know, when she was getting chemo, she would go into the hospital. I would drop her off, and then I would pick her up because we still weren't really encouraged to go into the hospital, you know, because it was still COVID or the end of COVID or, you know, during COVID. So I'd drop her off, and then I would pick her up a couple hours later. And then she would bring home like 48-hour chemo, and she'd have a chemo pump, and it would, so from Thursday until Saturday, she would be getting chemo. And that was the toughest time, because she'd be up all night or throughout the night, and she'd be throwing up. She'd be, you know, just not feeling good. And they had her on a whole pile of drugs to try and balance out the chemo effects, and to try and, you know, calm down the urge that, you know, chemo brought about, you know, being sick. But it didn't seem to matter what they gave her. She was just sick to her stomach for 2 days. And so from Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, she was just ill. And then Monday, she started to turn around. Tuesday, it was a little better, you know. And then she was getting chemo once every 2 weeks. So by the time she started feeling good again, then she would get her next chemo treatment, and then it would start again. So this would go for 6 months. So Roxanne had her first chemo, I think, was middle of November of 2021. And it was 6 months, and she got better. She did good on the chemo, and at the end of the 6 months of treatment, we're now into June, and the doctors gave her half of June, July, August, September, and then she started chemo again at the end of September. And so September. So this is now September of 2022, and it wasn't the same. The second round of chemo. It did not. Have the same rebound effect. She started chemo the second time for the second session, second bout or whatever, and she didn't have that same bounce back. It seemed like everything was worse, everything was harder, everything was problematic, and she wouldn't let anyone know how she was feeling. She would compose herself, she would meet her friends, and she never really told them how she was feeling. That was something that she just didn't want people to know how bad it was. And it was like that with her friends. It was like that with her family. And that second 6-month session of chemo wasn't going as well. But she never told people that second grouping of chemo wasn't working as well. So the kids knew to a degree. They didn't know all of the details, but it was something that me and her talked about, and I encouraged her to to do the best she could and just push herself and try and battle. And she was a fighter. Like, she worked while she was getting treatment. She was in palliative care getting chemo, and she would only take the Thursday and the Friday off from work on her chemo days, and even then, if she could, I'd bring her computer to her, and she would try and do a little bit of work or just keep track of her emails and that, and she never stopped working. She was that driven, and she was bound and determined that she was going to continue, until Jennifer was finished university. That's what she really wanted to do. She really wanted to see Jennifer graduate. So unfortunately, that didn't happen, because the second round of 6 months for chemo, it wasn't going well. And just in January, after Christmas, she stopped the chemo treatments. Towards the end of January, and she had a CAT scan done, and she was waiting for information on the tumors, because she had tumors in her liver. She had the main tumor in her colon. She had tumors in her lungs. Like, it was quite extensive. She had some abdominal tumors as well. So she was waiting to hear back on the tumors on the liver, because there was 6 or 7 tumors on the liver, and one of them was 9 or 10 centimeters. So she was waiting for that, to come back and to determine if she was going to continue with the chemo, because she didn't feel that it was working. So early March of last year, I noticed that she had turned jaundice, and I told her, talk to her about it. And we made an appointment to see the doctor. And so this was like the 6th of March when we noticed. And the 8th of March, we got in to see the doctor, and the doctor informed her and I that there was nothing more that they could do, and that did she want to have an assist, and or did she want to pass naturally. We thought she had a little bit of time, and I didn't tell her, I didn't say anything. I wanted her to make any decisions that needed to be made about what she was going to do. I wasn't saying anything. I was just listening, and I was supporting. I wasn't telling her how to live her final, her last days. So that was Wednesday, and then Friday, she's still jaundiced, and she can't remember things, and she's just not coherent completely. So that was 2 days, from Wednesday to Friday, and I phoned my daughter, who was going to school in the U.S., and I said, you need to come home. I phoned Roxanne's sisters, talked to Marie, and I told Marie that her and Joe needed to come, because I think it was going downhill quick. And so I talked to nieces and nephews, and I let everyone know that things were taking a turn that wasn't a recoverable event, and so then Saturday it was a little worse again. She was doing a lot of lying down, but she could still walk around and hold conversation, although her memory was affected, and she was searching for words at times. Sunday, the nurse showed up to check on her, and as the nurse was getting ready to leave, it was a first fall event. So Roxanne fell, hit her head, and that was another new thing that had never happened. So then she couldn't walk, and she was kind of bedridden. Monday, she was nonverbal and bedridden, and it wasn't good. So we made arrangements to have people come in and look after her, while we made arrangements for a hospice. So we got her into the hospice on the Tuesday, March 14th, and 4 o'clock in the morning on March 15th, Roxanne passed. It was like she didn't want to pass it home, I guess, or I don't know, maybe it's just the way it went, and I'm just reading more into it, but it's kind of the way I felt, that she didn't want to pass it home. And that was the final week. That's coming up a year next Friday that Roxanne passed, and it's been a hard year. I can't express how much I miss my wife, my partner, the person who I was gonna, spend the rest of my life with. I just didn't realize that, that it would be over so quick, and that the time was short, I guess. Roxanne moved in with me in December of 1987, and she never left. Although she threatened to a couple of times. I'm sure everyone has those, moments where, you just want to get up and leave. So we worked through it, and we were together for so many years, and they were good years. I got three great kids, and I spent that time with someone who was great to be with, and who was better than me, and who made my life worthwhile, as well as my kids made my life worthwhile. But I just wanted to share the loss that our family had. Our family lost a great mom, a great sister, a great daughter, and that, is tough. But you also need to look at it like, we got to spend that time. However, it wasn't as long as we wanted, but we got to spend time with Roxanne, and she enriched our lives. And she will always be in our hearts, and she will always be in our memories. And I'll always remember the time, the fun, like the honeymoon in Florida. I spent 2 weeks in Florida. It was great. We went to England with my parents in 1988. Bringing 3 kids into the world, all the firsts, it was great. And unfortunately, she had to leave. I came to terms with it, because I looked after her for 18 months, or maybe I helped her for 18 months. She just needed a little bit of support, and she just needed some things when she wasn't feeling good, but she looked after us even when she was going through treatment. It's a great loss, but we're still here, and you remember the loved ones that you lose, but you still gotta move forward, and you still gotta live your life, and you need to remember the good times, and you need to continue on. And so that's what we're doing. She would she would be upset now because my kids brought home more animals, and she said no more animals. So other than that, and we probably don't clean the house the way that she cleaned the house, but she's probably cursing at us somewhere. But anyway, this is just a little video to um, to pay tribute to a great lady that everyone loved, and we are sorry that she's gone, but she stayed around as long as she could, and this is just to tell everyone how much she'll be missed. But you can't forget that you need to continue forward, and you need to live your life, and you need to be able to say goodbye, and live the life that your loved one would want you to live. And don't hold yourself back. Don't stop living because that person is no longer there. Anyway, I just want to say I love you always, Roxanne, and I wish we had more time. Anyway, I'll see what I can find in videos that I can add to this, so that I have a little video of her within this video. Anyway, just remember that life is short. Always tell the people that you love them, and always, be nice and courteous to everybody, because life is just so fragile, and it's short, and you just don't realize it. Anyway, good night.
Who wants a cat? He's bad. Oh, jiggy, jiggy, jiggy. He's bad. Eat banana bread. Eat banana bread. Didn't you? Who's a talkie? Who's a little talkie?